I want to say thank you to James for inviting me out here to do the debate. I really appreciate that. He flew me in from South Carolina, so much appreciated. Thanks Team Skeptic for being here to talk about whether or not the Earth is a tilted cartoon spinning ball or the flat stationary Earth that we all observe. The first point I'd like to go over is, does the Earth spin? Now we're taught in mainstream science that the Earth spins 1,039 miles an hour at the equator. Well, there's two problems with that, and that is it would create one of two effects. Either the atmosphere would rotate as a cohesive body with the Earth, moving with the Earth, or there will be what science calls a Coriolis effect. The atmosphere will move separately from the Earth. So first I want to go over the atmosphere moving cohesively as one synchronous body. There's a problem with that, and the problem is that Earth's atmosphere would have to increase in velocity the higher you go up. So as an airplane takes off from the ground, it's moving at 1,039 miles an hour, but as it extends its radius from the Earth, it would have to increase in velocity, and that means that all that atmosphere would also have to be increasing in velocity. The problem with that is there's no force that would cause that. Gravity allegedly pulls all things down, not sideways. So I choose to reject this hypothesis because a column of air will not move as one cohesive body as a result of moving your hand back and forth or as a result of the Earth spinning 1,000 miles an hour. And what I mean by that is, if I move my notebook left to right in front of my face, all the air above my notebook is not also moving left to right. That's not how fluid dynamics work. So this is also not even what mainstream science teaches. So if anyone tells you that the Earth's atmosphere moves with the Earth, they, one, deny mainstream science, and two, they presuppose Earth's movement. And they'll talk about how, well, if you're in a train moving straight and you throw a ball in the air, the ball comes right back down. Yeah, well, if you're in a train that's not moving at all and you throw the ball in the air, it also comes right back down. So not a good argument. Now, this is what science teaches, is that there is an atmospheric blender effect or a Coriolis effect. What would really happen if the Earth spun, guys? This is an indisputable law of fluid dynamics. What would happen is it would move faster towards the center or the surface of Earth, like a blender, and it would move slower towards the outer regions. The problem is we don't observe this either because Earth's atmosphere does not move separately from the Earth. Observe a hot air balloon or a helicopter or a drone, smoke in the air. Airplanes traveling east to west do not have drastic differences in journey times from airplanes traveling west to east. So, as we see here, consequences of the spinning Earth and atmosphere, guys, there would be drastic differences in journey times traveling east as opposed to traveling west if the Earth spun 1,000 miles an hour. I mean, even with a 29 mile an hour crosswind, airplanes have a hard time landing. So to think that the Earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour when they can barely land at 29 miles an hour is pretty much ridiculous. That's my first argument, is that the Earth doesn't spin. It doesn't work if there is an alleged Coriolis effect. It doesn't work if the atmosphere moves with the Earth. My second argument is that the atmosphere would cease to exist on the heliocentric model because of the second law of thermodynamics. Could the atmosphere even exist without a physical barrier? So space is allegedly an infinite vacuum, okay? And then we have 19.7 pressure here at sea level, and I'll agree there is a gradient because Earth's atmosphere is what's called a closed dynamic system. The gas in our atmosphere is inhomogeneous and anisotropic, so it's moving around and it's different in all directions. But the necessary antecedent to all gas pressure, be it static or dynamic systems, is closed containers. If it's not closed, the high pressure systems move towards the low pressure systems. Same thing when you put your hand on a burning stove, the hot moves into your hand and you'll experience a burn on your hand. If you have a vacuum next to a pressurized atmosphere, the high pressure system, the pressurized atmosphere, would move into the vacuum. So an analogy I like to use is like asking, can a tire rim have air pressure around it without a tire while in a vacuum? Or could a tire rim have a pressure gradient around it without a tire in a vacuum? The answer is no. It's just common sense, but it's also law of entropy. That's why if you look up pictures of the South Pole, pictures of satellites, pictures of Earth's solar system, they are all cartoons. The heliocentric religion is based on cartoon cosmology, outdated pseudoscience. Real science needs an observation, a hypothesis, and then rigorous experimentation. You cannot simply observe something and then declare what is happening, which is what we saw here with the ring laser gyro. And if you're going to observe and declare that that is Earth rotation being measured by the ring laser gyro, well then I would ask, well why is Bob Nodell, when he does the test at 14,000 feet, he's experiencing over 1 degree difference in alleged Earth rotation when he changes altitude at the same latitude. So if you're at the same latitude, Earth should be all moving at the same speed, but when you take that ring laser gyroscope and you move down in elevation, you experience over 1 degree change in Earth rotation? No, that doesn't even make sense. It's not measuring Earth rotation. It's simply a fallacy called affirming the consequent, where you observe and declare. If P, then Q. P happens, so Q. All that we witness in a ring laser gyro is light moving. We do not witness Earth moving. There's no naturally occurring phenomenon for that, and there is no independent variable for that. So when Team says that's an experiment, he is wrong. He is scientifically illiterate. He doesn't know what an experiment is, okay? So those are my 2 main points. Earth doesn't move, and without a barrier, we wouldn't have a pressurized atmosphere. Not sure if that's around 10 minutes, but do we still have some time? Steven, do you know?
About 1 more minute.
All right, great. He said accelerometer proves gravity because there's a 9.8 meters per second acceleration downward being measured. All agree things fall at 9.8 meters per second, but the problem with gravity is that Newton never formulated a hypothesis, which is required for the scientific method, and then that evolved into bendy space-time, which is Einsteinian theoretical physics, which has no practical application to reality. So, thank you.
With that, thank you very much, Nathan, for that opening statement. Now, we will go into the part that makes me feel the most nervous and excited at the same time. This will be the open discussion section. So, hold me accountable in the live chat. If I am in any way biased, do call it out. I'm going to try to be as fair as possible, just in terms of making sure that each person gets to make their case with roughly the same amount of time. And so thank you very much, gentlemen, for your opening statements, and we'll now go into the open discussion time.
Great. You said Earth curves at 24 miles. You could observe it from the other side of the bay at Tampa. I would like to know, how can Chicago be seen from 57 miles away? Also, I have 6 lighthouses here. Well, just Chicago. How can you see it from 60 miles away if Earth curves 0.666 feet per mile squared? According to AutoCAD, Pythagorean theorem, and Samhita, you would have to have a downward vertical drop in all directions. So if that is happening, why can we see Chicago from the other side of Lake Michigan?
I mean, it's already been described and proven several times as to why you can see it on certain days. Not every day, certain days. And you know this. So there's no point in even bringing up something that's an irrelevant observation. That's not even an observation I brought up. I brought up the Tampa Bay one, which was at a much closer distance and didn't rely on atmospheric conditions to make that observation. The observation can be made by anybody tomorrow if they want. They can be made the next day or yesterday. It can be made at any time because the observations at that distance, the atmospheric conditions at that distance aren't really playing a role in the observation that I'm presenting as evidence.
So at what distance do atmospheric conditions play a role?
Well, there's absolute atmospheric conditions that play a role in
So they play a role.
refraction and I mean, there's atmosphere, the miraging that can happen from temperature inversion. Those are different than what I was showing in my presentation. So to argue a point that I'm not even bringing up without you even being knowledgeable or having any evidence to support, you're just making a blanket comment of, oh, well, what about this one observation I saw on YouTube? You didn't make the observation. You don't know the guy that made the observation. You don't know
I've been to Chicago. I did the Lake Michigan test. I did it myself. I've been there.
Where's your evidence?
What do you mean, where's my, we can pull up my YouTube video of me in
Okay,
Chicago.
where's your evidence?
Okay,
Pull
but
up
also,
your evidence of you
all
in
right,
Chicago.
here's my
This
evidence
is
right
the
here.
fucking visual-
Anyone can go on Google Earth, type in Chicago, Illinois, okay? Turn on photos in left-hand column. Find this photo taken from the beach. Am I still sharing my screen, Stephen? Excellent. Find this photo taken from the beach. Download the photo and examine it yourself, okay? So if the Earth's a globe in the size and shape that we've been taught, then only the top 340 feet of the Sears Willis Tower would be visible from this picture, which is my evidence on Google Earth. Anyone can pull up. So the Willis
you have
Tower.
the refractive index for that day?
The Willis
You
Tower
know-
is
you know all
1,000.
the refractive index. You know this? You're willing to present the evidence of visual observation with the evidence of refraction that with the refractive index to back up that what we're seeing is something that we should see every day and not just under certain circumstances.
So refraction is going to cause the Willis Tower to come up above 1,014 feet of curvature.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Why not? I can actually bring up a video online showing extreme refraction in completely altered atmospheric environments that you would never believe that could even possibly be. We're talking about light bending around objects that's clearly looking at it before the atmosphere is dense around it by the pouring of I believe it was liquid butane on it, super cool butane, which simulated the environment to being in a highly refractive environment. And what do you know? The light comes, colors you can't even see, now all of a sudden they're bright as fuck, like they're right there the whole time. But what was that? Well, what is it? It's refraction, right? Extreme refraction.
So your argument is that we're not actually seeing the object, it's a mirage.
No, my argument with that is that you don't have any of the evidence to support that what you're seeing is not a mirage.
Well, it has none of the characteristics of a mirage. It has
How do you know? Are you all of a sudden some kind of visual expert? I don't think you're a visual expert.
Do you know any of the characteristics of a mirage?
Do you even know what a refractive index is or how to calculate it?
I said it has no characteristics of a
Right,
mirage.
your characteristics.
Right, and then you said
How do
I'm
you
not
know?
qualified.
How do you know it does not have
You
characteristics?
said I'm not qualified,
Right,
so I
you
was
just
just
made
wondering,
a statement. Back your statement up with proof.
do you
How
know
do you
any of
that
the
there's-
characteristics for a mirage? Yes or no?
That's irrelevant. I'm
No, it's
asking
not,
you,
because
are you? That's
You're saying
irrelevant.
it was a mirage.
No, I'm saying, do you know? How do you know it's not? How do you know personally know it's not?
And then I said it has none of the characteristics of
And
a
I said,
mirage.
and I asked you, what are your characteristics and what makes you such a professional at visual observations that you know what a mirage looks like and what it does not look like?
Well, do you know what the characteristics of a
You
mirage
can't even tell
are?
me what a refractive index
One
is
second.
or how to calculate it. Why would I even listen to you on
One
this
second,
topic?
just
Go to the next topic.
just to be on the same plane. So the characteristics of a mirage, like if we're able to kind of hash, thanks so much. If we're able to kind of hash out the characteristics of a mirage and actually discuss them, like I think that'll kind of that'll kind of directly hit the point at the point of the discussion rather than anyone's credibility.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm waiting
okay.
for team to come up
So-
with one of the characteristics of a mirage, since
Of a mirage, what do you mean? Explain to me what you mean by a mirage. There are inferior mirages, there's
Yeah, well,
superior mirages. What type of mirage do you want? I mean, do you want me to give you an example of what I'm talking about or what a temperature inversion is? Well, that's where the light goes into a higher temperature medium, and because of the fact that it's a higher temperature medium, the light bends up so that it appears lower than where it actually is.
so what type of mirage is causing the Chicago skyline to hover 1,000 feet behind the Earth curve?
I don't know. I'm not looking at your screen right now to try to visually determine exactly what type it is. I told you before plenty of times, I'll tell you again, if you're going to be providing evidence, then you need to be backing it up with the claims that you're making. If you're saying that, okay, I'm seeing the Chicago skyline, why is that? And I say, well, it's because that we're seeing atmospheric conditions that allow on this particular day, under these particular atmospheric conditions, that we're able to see this observation, that we're not going to see it every day. You can't prove me wrong just with one simple observation, one simple picture, that you don't even have a refractive index on the picture. You're just saying, hey, look at this picture. Guys, look, it's more than I can see. Prove to me that it's more than you can see. Prove to me that there's no way that that's a possibility to occur on the globe Earth under like ideal atmospheric circumstances and conditions. You can't. All you can do is show the picture and go, look, it doesn't look like it's a mirage to me. It has no characteristics. That doesn't work for me. I don't give a shit about your opinion about that picture. Your uneducated and uninformed opinion.
All right, let's go back to Nathan.
Yeah. So there's also 57 miles away, Joshua Nowicki. He's got a famous photo. The news said that it was a mirage, which is basically team's argument. It's not actually there, guys. You can see it, but we're not actually seeing the city. It's just the image is being lifted up over 1,000 feet above the horizon. But you have no evidence that that happens, that objects could be lifted up over 1,000 feet behind an alleged presupposed Earth curve that you haven't proven. All you have is things disappear bottom first, and yes, that changes day to day based on atmospheric conditions, and it's because of perspective. And so I agree, things disappear bottom first. It's not Earth curve. We see way too far. You can see almost the entire Chicago skyline.
Well, that was a nice attempt at a straw man because I didn't actually say that it was or was not a mirage. I said that you have an uneducated and uninformed opinion, and you're trying to present a piece of evidence that you're just saying, I saw this on the internet and this is my explanation for it. You don't have anything to back up your explanation, and that's the only reason I'm saying I'm not accepting your evidence. There is atmospheric refraction out there that can cause things like this to happen. I'll have Stephen pull up a video right now showing extreme conditions that cause extreme refractions that you would never believe if someone said, yes, I've seen light bend around something, completely bend around a small object. We're not even talking about huge distances like the Earth. We're talking about a small propane tank. I see light bending around this propane tank. So yes, we can have that happen right here on Earth under very easily created conditions.
Light or an image?
Light.
Was an image
Light.
bent around the propane
Light.
tank?
Light.
Could you see around the corner of the propane tank, team?
What the fuck does that even mean? Light, you don't look around anything. Light comes to you and you see the light that comes to you. So if you're bending light around a corner, that's what's happening. The light is traveling in a straight line. It enters into a different medium. It changes its that's what the difference is, the refractive index. That's why you should know things like this, Nathan. Then it comes, when it enters into that refractive index, that higher refractive index, it begins bending. As it bends around and it comes back out of that refractive index, it starts straightening back out. And you see it in front of you. When it's not there, it's over there. It's a good distance over there, and it's coming, and the light coming off of it is passing through a medium that's causing it to bend towards you. Yes, this happens, and I can show you right now.
Excellent. The atmosphere is hovering the Chicago skyline over 1,000 feet of presupposed Earth curvature. Have you heard of Jay Tolan?
Have you proved that that can't be done? That's my only question, is have you proved that that can't be done? If you'll put that up here so I can get this. Prove that it can't be done and I'll accept your proof.
That's an argument from ignorance. You can prove that Santa isn't real.
No. Prove that what I just said, that it explains your observation.
You have no evidence for what you say.
You have no evidence for what you said.
What are you talking about? I just showed you. Pull it up on Google Earth.
A picture that you don't even fucking know who took the picture.
I went there myself and recorded it myself.
You went
the
there?
video's on my YouTube.
Okay. Did you take the refractive index? Do you know that there is no way for that observation to possibly be possible on a globe Earth? That's the question.
So on a globe, based on certain conditions, an image behind 1,000 feet of curvature is going to hover up because of those atmospheric conditions. What are we doing here?
Hold on, I'm getting him a video right now.
Okay, so it's hovering.
I'm
the
giving you a
Chicago
video.
skyline is hovering over 1,000 feet of Earth curve that you can't prove exists.
Dude, I'm telling you that you can't prove that that is not possible. All you're just saying, look, okay, so if I give you, when I showed you that blink test, and I just showed you the blink test, right?
I have a blink test
hold on. Okay, well, he played it, I was assuming you were watching it. The blink test that he showed things disappearing at relatively close distances compared to what you're talking about.
Yeah, 123 mile blink test.
Okay, so we're talking about things disappearing at relatively close distances, and then you're telling me that this one observation that shows something further than what I'm showing that's being obscured, this one observation that's much further happens to be on this one particular time of day during these very particular atmospheric conditions, and that one observation is the one that proves that all the other observations are just trash and the Earth's fucking flat.
We can talk about my 17-mile laser experiment at Salton Sea too.
Do you have all the refractive indexes and everything like that to show that what you did is impossible on a globe Earth? Or do you just have evidence to say, look, I saw a laser at 17 miles? So do you have the diffraction, the diffusion of the laser?
Your argument is that the atmosphere could cause a laser to
Don't
be seen.
show me.
No, I'm just clarifying your argument. Is that
Did I say that?
we see the laser from 17 miles away
I asked you if you just had a refractive index.
because
That's what I asked.
there's
Do
an
you have
Earth
that?
curve
I don't
you
accept
can't
your
prove,
evidence if you don't
and
have
then
it.
the atmosphere is lifting it above the Earth curve that you can't prove. That's your argument.
I don't know. I wasn't there, and apparently you don't have all the data that's needed to be to even look into this piece of evidence. Why didn't you present the piece of evidence ahead of time to say so that somebody like me could actually go in and make sure that what you showing me now, great. You have the refractive index on there. I don't think you do.
What we'll do is, we can come back to this point, and I'll give you a chance.
Yeah.
Okay. We are buffering a little bit.
Let me pull something up for him. We'll wait for it to all catch up and we'll get started after that.
You bet.
Just relax, team. It's okay if your religion
What
crumbles.
we'll do is, we'll give Team a chance to show this video clip, and after Team shows that video clip, we will give him a chance to explain it, as well as a chance for Nathan to give a response.
While I do that, you can mark the phone's back up.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, let me just pull it up my
So just a reminder, folks, if you do have any questions, fire them into the live chat. I will try to pull out as many questions and go through them during the question and answer and get through as many as we hopefully can, as well as just want to mention one or two more times, as we can't stress enough how much we appreciate not only the Artistic Encounter, who's been extremely gracious and willing to host us, but we've also been very thankful for our speakers, and I do want to give a personal thank you to both Stephen Steen and his twin brother, Tom Jump, as they have honestly been extremely helpful with the tech setup today, and I'm very sincere about that. Big thank you to Stephen Steen and Tom Jump, as we had a little bit of a lot of tech stuff getting set up, and so we really did appreciate a lot of brain power moving through those guys. So with that, we will move into the next part.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm just sending him up.
No problem. I do want to mention, in case you have not seen, tomorrow we do have that epic debate between Matt Dillahunty and Inspiring Philosophy on whether or not there are good reasons to